Thank you, Lynn. Good morning, everyone. I appreciate those kind words. My mother always used to say I always repaired the washer, the dryer, the refrigerator, put them back to work, and they all work, but there are always parts left over. And we still wonder about that in our household, so I'm still continuing to learn. It's really an honor to be the industry keynote speaker here this morning to thousands of you that are here representing both civil, commercial, and national security sectors of the space community. And I want to thank the Space Foundation for inviting me, Elliot Pullum, the Chief Executive Officer of the Space Foundation, Marty Fega, Chairman of the Board of the Space Foundation, and Phil Larson, today's moderator and Communication and Policy Analyst of the White House of OSTP office. It's a real pleasure to be here and to see some old friends again. The Space Foundation plays a critical role in advancing space-related endeavors, and it's why the National Space Symposium is really so vital as a premier event that brings together the key audiences which really can help to shape the future of space. And what I'd like to talk to you about this morning is the value of space, at least from my perspective, and industry's vital and growing role in advancing the progress in space. I also want to thank Dr. Tyson for his remarks, and you'll find that there's really great alignment between the private and the public sector for space, and a lot of the remarks I have will parallel his. There are challenges and opportunities, and they really go hand in hand in this area. And as Lynn pointed out, I'm really proud to be the vice chair of the John F. Kennedy Library Foundation Board of Directors. So I'm often reflecting on the wisdom of President Kennedy and how he looked at challenges and opportunities. He challenged the nation to do the unthinkable, as we heard earlier, to go to the moon. In doing so, he famously said, "We choose to go to the moon and to do other things, not because they're easy, but because they are hard." By that he meant it brings together different entities to do the best of the best to be able to accomplish things that are hard. Now think about the opportunities his challenge inspired in really guiding the space age. Think about all the things that engineers and scientists probably hadn't even thought about, never mind worked out the answers. How to exist in a spacesuit outside the protection of a space capsule. How to separate and reconnect with the lunar module. How to stretch the limits of automation with such little computing power. Even when they built the guidance computer for the Apollo missions, it's amazing that today's iPhone has 400,000 times the memory of that onboard computer. How many of you in this room would feel comfortable leaving the moon relying on your iPhone? My nephew maybe, but not me. So we in the space community know better than anyone that in big challenges we find the seeds of big opportunities, especially when filtered through the prism of innovation and technology. After all, we are rocket scientists. We are known around the world for doing hard things, things that once seemed impossible. It's the challenges that motivate us, inspire us to do things no one has done before, and they galvanize us to create opportunities. Today is no different. We are at the crossroads in space, especially here in the United States. We are facing challenging economic, political, and budgetary environments. But instead of seeking opportunities, some are questioning the value of space. But instead of seeking those opportunities, they're asking, can we afford it? do we need human missions for space exploration? Why explore a solar system and beyond? This cannot be the legacy of JFK's Moon Challenge. He inspired us to step out into space and to do the unthinkable. Now, 50 years later, do we want to do the unthinkable and leave space? Fortunately, those of us in this room know the value of space. We know its boundless opportunities. Opportunities to better understand our world and ourselves. Opportunities for new innovations and spin-off technologies. Opportunities to make life better, easier, and safer for humankind. We also know space is a source of economic growth and good jobs. According to the Space Foundation Space Report 2012, the global space economy grew to some $290 billion in 2011. And in the US, space employed more than 250,000 people with an annual salary which was 15% more than the average salary for the 10 science and engineering technologies and math careers that employ the largest number of people. However, that workforce has declined 4 years in a row. For all these reasons and more, we as a nation need to recommit federal dollars to space programs, including human exploration. If we instead retreat from space, we risk losing to other nations the new technologies, innovations, and breakthroughs a dynamic space program creates. So in my opinion, this is a critical time. We need to collectively advocate and encourage the need to explore space and to continue to grow innovation and the industrial base. We in industry are ready and able to play a larger role in space to create new opportunities from our challenges. Indeed, we've seen a key goal of the administration's national space policy is to energize competitive domestic industries to advance satellite manufacturing, satellite-based services, space launch, terrestrial applications, and increased entrepreneurship. These are things that industry can do well, yet it's federal funding that helps drive these advances. And federal funding is a catalyst for growing the industrial base and the innovative global competitive workforce that it employs. By tapping into this innovation and entrepreneurship, industry can bring new efficiencies by reducing costs and risk, unleash new and diverse thinking to drive research breakthroughs, and to create spin-off technologies. I'd like to think that future breakthroughs in every mission are being worked in labs around the country now. Still, in our fast-paced world, as Dr. Tyson mentioned, we forget how many areas of our lives have been transformed by space. With, for example, instant information provided by global media, networks, countless media channels, and the internet. Telecommunications, allowing phone calls virtually everywhere, anywhere. Smartphones that bring the power of the internet right to our palm. Precise weather forecasting, giving meteorologists a wealth of data for forecasts that you can really count on, hopefully making them better than 50% accuracy. GPS navigation that makes you wonder literally how some got out of their driveways before GPS in-car help. Of course, I often think how many marriages have been saved by GPS navigation. At least in our household, I don't ask for directions anymore. Monitoring systems that provide imagery and data related to natural disasters, environmental conditions, climate change, and national security. I could go on, and you could help me with that list. Those who question the value of space are quick to forget the benefits. Although in becoming so reliant upon space, it's not hard to take space for granted. Let me give you an example. For the last 10 minutes, you've been looking at an image of the Earth projected on the screens. You probably recognize it as Earthrise that Dr. Tyson mentioned, taken on Christmas Eve, 1968, during the Apollo 8 mission. But how often do you consider how profound and inspiring this image is? As Lynn says, I'm a lifelong learner and I'm always learning. But before that image, for tens of thousands of years of human existence, the best view that our ancestors had or could get of the Earth was climbing a mountain and looking out. From way back then down to our own lifetimes, we still hadn't captured a full image of what our planet really looked like. So think how blessed we are to be the first generations in history to see what the Earth really looks like. In 1972, Apollo 17 astronauts captured the image of the Earth. This iconic photo is known as the Blue Marble. When Apollo 17 Commander Eugene Cernan saw Earth from this vantage point on his way to the moon, he said, "It's these kinds of views that stick with you forever, and there's no strings holding it up either. It's out there all by itself." And earlier this year, I was proud of Raytheon's role in NASA's unveiling of the new Blue Marble image, which has been called the most amazing high-definition image of Earth. It was captured by our Visible Infrared Imaging Suite instrument, VIIRS for short, and it's aboard the NASA and NOAA's Earth-orbiting satellite, SWOMI. It's an image that I never forget. So it's amazing to think how far we've come in such a short period of time. Our countless achievements as space allows us to ever expand the boundaries and capabilities. It makes you wonder what the future will look like. That's the inspirational power of space. I was just a boy when President Kennedy committed us to landing on the moon. It inspired me and many of my generation for the future. And I'm sure he's inspired everyone in this room in some way. And if you were alive in 1969, take a second thinking about where you were for Apollo 11 moon landing. What was your man on the moon moment like? For me, I was on Highway 101 in Santa Barbara, California, listening to it on my car radio. And in that moment of great excitement and emotion, it seemed like anything was possible. Space still has the power to inspire the youth of today, but we have some real work to do here. The U.S. ranks 23rd among developed nations in the number of science and engineering degrees. According to the Space Report, more than 70% of the NASA workforce is between 40 and 60 years old, with less than 12% under the age of 35. For that matter, how many of you in the room are under 35? Could you please stand? We'll do our own sample. Wow, that's impressive. I personally want to thank you for your passion in space. So on top of all our other challenges, We need to find more ways to get students excited about space the way we were excited. We need to give them their man on the moon moment to inspire them as we were inspired to careers in space. This is yet another reason why we need to commit funding so we don't retreat from space. How will we inspire a generation of young students to reach for the stars, as JFK did, if those stars are out of reach? But inspiration is only a part of this equation. A career in space requires a solid educational foundation in science, technology, engineering, and math, STEM as we all call it. We need to engage students at all levels to develop an interest in STEM so they'll be excited and prepared to have a STEM education. Once they're in the pipeline, we need to sustain that interest so that they can stay on track to have rewarding space careers. I want to challenge everyone in this room to do more to support STEM education. I'll even be critical of myself. We in industry aren't doing enough. And I, for one, will pledge to strengthen even further Raytheon's impact on STEM outreach programs. For example, our Math Moves You program has already touched the lives of 3 million students and parents. We've raised the bar with our newest initiative, Math Alive, an interactive museum experience that opened last month at the Smithsonian. And in just 4 weeks, we've had over 100,000 visitors, and as of last week, our 5th week, the total's up to 129,000. We're going to later embark this on a multi-year tour across the United States and internationally in countries around the world. And Math Alive taps really the power of space to inspire with space-related activities that help students connect the dots, as I call it. They can control a virtual Mars rover. They can play astronomer by examining Hubble telescope images. And they can simulate a spacewalk outside of the International Space Station. By working together, we can tackle our STEM education challenge, and we can all benefit through this virtuous circle. A new generation of talent who will achieve their own breakthroughs in space travel and exploration, provide new near-space technologies, and unravel the mysteries of our planet, solar system, and universe. So as I close, I'd like to come back to where I started, with President Kennedy. In 1960, his inaugural address or acceptance speech, he said that times demand new invention, innovation, imagination, decision, and call for all of us to be pioneers of that new frontier. While he was referring to a different era, the sentiment is timeless for us all in the space community. Then as now, we face hard challenges. Then as now, there's a compelling draw of space and its enormous value. If we seize this moment, if we seize the opportunities before us, I'm confident that from years from now, we'll again be amazed at how far we've come. And we'll have inspired a new generations of pioneers to carry on the space community's proud legacy. Raytheon and industry are excited and ready for the challenges and the opportunities that lie ahead. Thank you for the chance to speak to you this morning, and I wish you an enjoyable National Space Symposium. Thank you very much.